Hello and welcome to Arts Talk Radio. I'm Michael Hasted. We bring you interviews as well as news and reviews relating to all aspects of the arts in Holland, concentrating on events in Amsterdam, The Hague, Rotterdam and everything in between or nearby.
Arts Talk Radio Online. Interviews and features on the arts in English.
For this programme, we're in The Hague. Later, I'll be talking to art historian Wendy Fossen of Casa dell'Arte about the largely forgotten Dutch artist Suze Robertson. And we'll have some music from the Meral Polat Trio. But first, here's some opera.
Sancho, fortune's coming our way. All of whom I mean to engage in prodigious clash and slay.
Opera2Day is currently on tour with the ingenious nobleman Don Quixote of La Mancha. This Hague-based company specialises in creating new operas, and I met up with Emlyn Stam, the artistic director of the new European Ensemble, who provides the music. And I asked him what was involved in the process of creating a brand new opera from scratch.
So, in this case, it's a newly composed opera by Vanni Moretto, who is an Italian composer. But what they've asked him to do is use music from the Renaissance, Middle Ages, as it were, and take various numbers from that time, and use both the original material played on period instruments by La Fonta Musica, which is an Italian ensemble of 4 specialized in this music with 2 singers. And he's also used that material as inspiration, along with hundreds or maybe 1,000 other quotes from different types of pieces to create his original composed material, which builds the structure of the entire piece.
And how does it actually work? Did you start, or do they start with the story? They say, let's do an opera about Don Quixote, and then just gather bits together?
Yeah, so what they did is they asked Stefano Pintor, who is both the stage director and the librettist, to create a libretto and a concept. So he went back to the book, he read Cervantes, thought about it, he examined some of the 150 or so other titles made on Don Quixote, whether theater plays or operas throughout hundreds of years of history, and he concluded, yeah, let's make a new piece that goes for a more contemporary but also kind of postmodern look at the novel, and kind of appreciates it in that sense, because a lot of the historical pieces on Don Quixote are very focused on the sort of comic aspect or the more superficial aspects of the story that we all know, like the tilting at windmills and so on, and these type of famous scenes. This is what we remember. But I think Stefano wanted to do something both more ambitious but also more true to the depth and kind of multitudes of resonances that the book has.
Is all the music for this original? Because I think very often the Opera2Day, they use bits, established bits, and then join them together with new bits. How does the Don Quixote work?
So we have basically a new composition in which there are original medieval and Renaissance songs and instrumental pieces that pop up from time to time. And basically in the structure of the story, the way it works is that it takes place in our kind of contemporary world, let's say. And Don Quixote imagines himself, of course, as a knight of the Renaissance, much as he does in the work of Cervantes. And this is kind of the Renaissance medieval world popping into our modern world, and that's where this music from that time suddenly takes over in the opera.
And how much are you involved? I don't want to be rude, but you're essentially the pit orchestra for this. But do you have any involvement in the construction of the piece in the early stages?
I mean, basically, the most of the work was, of course, done by the composer Vanni Moretto and the librettist Stefano, and our input was basically talking a little bit in the beginning about the concept. How are we going to do it? What would we like to do? Kind of which instrumentation can we come to? How can we achieve this process of combining period instruments from the medieval times with modern instruments, and how is that going to work in the pit, basically. So that's been our challenge to resolve. But the artistic process has really centrally been guided by Stefano Pintor and, of course, the composer Vanni Moretto.
Because this idea of creating operas from existing pieces is, I would say, fraught with danger, but there are pitfalls. What do you think the most significant or most dangerous pitfall is?
I mean, I think the danger in this production, in a way, I would recommend that people actually see it twice, because the danger here is that you're dealing with a book which is almost 600 pages in most editions, and
for which everybody has a preconception.
Yeah, and which actually, in general, quite few people have actually read the whole thing. Most of us know the story via, or we've read something about it or a small bit from the book. And what happens in this opera is that there's a kind of attempt to really pack in all of this and give it a contemporary contextualization, which means there's really a lot there. And I've played it now. I mean, I've been busy with it for over a month, let's say, and we've done, 5 performances. And for me, I'm still discovering things both in the music, but also in the libretto and in the stage action, and discovering how things are connected. So it's actually quite a complex and intricate piece.
Okay, and you're currently on tour, and the tour finishes where and when?
So our last 2 performances will be here in The Hague, in the Koninklijke Schouwburg, the National Theatre, on the 17th and 18th of March.
Okay, Emlyn Stam of the new European Ensemble, thanks very much indeed.
When I say that it will be your last banquet, no!
Arts Talk magazine provides the perfect companion to Arts Talk Radio, with reviews and previews in English of cultural events in Holland. Whatever your interest in the arts, our international team of writers will always provide something new and exciting to see online. That's Arts Talk Magazine, all one word, .nl. artstalkmagazine.nl.
I'm at the Panorama Mesdag Museum in The Hague, and I'm with art historian Wendy Fossen, and we're at an exhibition of a painter, an artist who I must confess I've never heard of, called Suze Robertson. Am I the only one who's never heard of her?
No, you're definitely not, because she was forgotten for many, many, many years. She was born in 1855 and she died in 1922, and that is the reason why we're organizing, or the museum is organizing, an exhibition here as in celebration of her 100th death anniversary, and also as a result of the almost a decade of work, of research that has been done by my fellow colleagues, art historians, and that resulted in this exhibition. And as I said, she was born in 1855, so for a woman in those days to actually become a painter, and also a successful painter, an independent painter, earning your living with painting, was absolutely exceptional, and that makes her such a special artist as well.
And did she work exclusively in The Hague?
No, definitely not. She was born and raised here in The Hague, but she lived in Rotterdam for a while. She actually started out as a drawing teacher at a secondary school, girls' school. She even moved to Amsterdam, also doing the same job, before she actually became an independent artist. And she was awarded a prize of 400 guilders, and that allowed her to professionalize and to go abroad. You could use that money to go abroad, but 400 guilders was not that much that you actually could spend a lot of time abroad. So she decided to go to Brabant, to little places like Dongen, that's the first place that she visited, and also Leur.
Right, well, looking at the paintings, they are what can I say, they are very Dutch. I mean, they're very much like Van Gogh's early work, dark and...
Shall we go over there?
Yeah, we'll go and look at some.
That's a really nice discussion. We'll start here. Because, as I said, she was...
very dark indeed.
Yeah, she was trained as a draftsman, would you say that? Or draftswoman in this case?
I think draftsman.
Draftsman. And that was her strength. She was an incredible draftsman. She could really draw very well. But working with oil paint was something that she had to learn in her days at the academy. And she developed very much her own style, because as one of her teachers in school used to say, there are already too many people who paint these lovely cows and sheep and ducks, referring to the Hague school painters, because that's the painters who prevailed here in The Hague and also in Dutch art in general in those days, in say the 1860s, 1870s. And her teachers continued then saying, okay, we need somebody else who's able to express their feelings in painting. So she starts developing her own style, and here you see an example of a more academic style. You see it's all finely painted with bodies, and it's a sitting girl with a nude back turned towards us, and the way that she treats the skin is very typical of academic style. This is how skin is supposed to look like. And when you compare that to the painting next to it, it shows an old woman.
And very, very dark.
Very dark. Almost, you already referred to it as Van Gogh. It looked very much like
Van Gogh.
No, I'm saying Van Gogh because that is how you pronounce it, but that's obviously difficult for non-Dutch speaking people.
So what's the difference in time? How much time between these two?
Not much time. This is 1888, and this is, so the earlier one is 1885.
A good Van Gogh date, 1888.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is that she painted in this way already before Van Gogh did. And it is not that you wonder why you know Van Gogh and why you don't know Suze Robertson. And that all has to do with the fact that she's a woman painter, even though in her own day she was highly appreciated. When she died in 1822 or 1922, about 2 or 3 years later, she was referred to. One of the directors of Pulgi said, if you want to assess which painters are important for the development of modern art in the Netherlands, then you should look at the work of Van Gogh, but definitely also to the work of Suze Robertson. So she was mentioned in one breath with Van Gogh. And we now think it is very tempting to say, okay, so she did what Van Gogh did. But I think, honestly, that it's the other way around, that Van Gogh is actually like, let me put it this way. In general, you see that there is an appreciation for this type of scenes. Women, old women or men working in very dire circumstances.
But I mean, it was also very much the location. You said you went to Brabant, and the Van Gogh was in the Borinage, which is all dark and mining and industrial.
But that's Flanders. So this is Van Gogh. Actually, he went to Nuenen, where his parents lived, and he painted there also the peasants, like the potato eaters. And going to these locations, it could either be Brabant or Drenthe up north. What they were looking for, these painters in general, the painters from the city, they were looking for something picturesque, real life, and it was painted in different ways. Some of them did a more romanticized version of it, but what Suze Robertson did
is real nitty-gritty, the real dirt.
It is. You're with your feet in the clay. You see the terrible circumstances in which these women and men are working. And with Suze, it is always women, because she found them more easier to approach, and she wanted them to be like in a very spontaneous way, so not posed. She wanted to see them in their doing their daily works, their daily chores. And for instance, this is the English title is Woman Breaking Branches, and she painted this more than 14 times. And she didn't only paint, she drew them, she did watercolors, she did gouaches. So all these different techniques she applied, and she chose then a subject, and she just tested which one was then the best. And also when you look at her entire oeuvre, you can deduce just a very limited palette of colors that she's using. Blue,
mainly black.
White, black, but there is an incredible amount of color in it when you start studying them more. The first impression you get is black, dark, and then you see the blue, you see the reds, you see the whites, and you see also yellow tones.
And what we have on the other wall, we were talking about she was mainly a draftsman, she mainly did drawing, are a series of half a dozen or so really large charcoal drawings, which are really, really incredible and very, very modern, even by today's standards.
Yeah. It is she did these drawings at the Wednesday nights, drawing nights of Pulgi, the gallery here in The Hague, the Pulgi studio. She was a member since 1884, and one of the nights this very popular model came around, Adolphe Boutard. He was an artist from the former Dutch Indies, and he was a remarkable person here in The Hague, and she made several drawings of him in chalk, using a wide variety of techniques as well. And what she was really good at was a method, and I can't remember the English translation of the method that she used. She had this thing, it was a rolled up piece of paper, very tightly rolled up, and that she rubbed it over the chalk in order to create like this more.
I don't know if there is a name for that. I know what you mean.
Doezelaar is the Dutch word that we use.
Not much use, I'm afraid.
No, it isn't. But it's something that creates this magical darkness. You see it here, for instance, because the lines of the charcoal and the crayons are not as thick anymore, because she kind of
it's called smudge. It's not
smudging.
It's smudging, but I mean that's not an artistic technique.
No, it probably has a nicer word for it, but that's basically what it is. For our listeners, then you know what it is. It's a bit of smudging in the.
But I mean, these drawings. There's two here, which are a meter by about 60 centimeters.
5 in total of the same subject, and it's the only man that you see here in this exhibition. For the rest, she painted women. This is an interesting room. It's actually a pretty big exhibition. It has 70 works, and the works that you see here are the most impressive. As I said, she was using models that lived around her. There's an entire story, and maybe people should read the review that I wrote for the details, but these I want to show you in person, because they show her servant Pietje, as she is called, Petronella, and you see her depicted sitting in a chair. It's primarily brown colors, so natural colors. She's sitting in this chair. We see her frontally with a book on her lap. She's either holding the book or she's got her hands crossed in front of her stomach, and she's sitting there almost with her eyes closed, and as if she's contemplating what she's just read. There's no way that you can tell that this is a Bible that she's holding in her lap, but she's thinking, and she's almost in her own world.
And the pictures are almost like icons, because they've got a lot of gold on them.
Exactly, that is the idea, that this is like an earthly Madonna with the gold leaf behind her, suggests that's exactly what she wanted to depict. Here in the next room we see one of the paintings that was actually bought by a museum that you see here. And then, since you have seen the paintings that she's done until now, do you think that this one is a Robertson painting? Or
Very different indeed.
Very different indeed. You see that, like, we are looking at a nude, and this nude lady sitting here with a background, a very dark.
Is this
background.
an early or late? Or
No, this is a late work. This is a late work. Now she's already successful. She has her solo exhibition, kind of a solo exhibition, in 1905 in Rotterdam, and they show 87 works of her, which half of them is actually in privately owned at the time. So you see that she's pretty successful with private collectors, but none of them has entered a museum yet. And this one is then in 1907 the first one to actually be bought by the Dordrecht Museum, and then they just wonder, why don't we have one in the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam, for instance? And then slowly but steadily.
This is a very classical painting. It's very large. It's nearly 2 meters, 180 or something by about a meter.
Yeah, and it's called. It was a nude figure. That was the original title, and then she called it Lena, referring to Helena, Helen of Troy, because that would more or less. Make it possible to show a naked woman, or you don't see anything because you see her on her back. She's turned away from us, but it is a nude, and that was something that was still not really much appreciated, also for museums. So but the way that she treated the paint here, it is much more an academic painting.
Right, there's a series of paintings of 3 houses.
It's a city gate, city gate of Harderwijk. And it's the fish gate, as it is called in Dutch, and they almost look alike, and that's how she worked. She worked in these series. I told you about the groundbreaking woman 14 times. This, I don't know how many, but quite a few, and in different techniques.
Okay, I think that will do, actually. I'm at the Suze Robertson exhibition at the Mesdag Panorama Mesdag. I'm with Wendy Fossen. Thank you very much indeed.
Yes, you're welcome.
Just to make that clear, after my verbal fumbling, the Suze Robertson is at the Panorama Mesdag Museum in The Hague, and that runs until the 5th of March and is highly recommended. Also highly recommended is the actual panorama itself, which is in the same building, and that really is amazing. So that's a must-see. So that's all for this edition of Arts Talk Radio. I'm Michael Hasted.
Arts Talk Radio Online.
To play us out, here's a track from the Meral Polat Trio. Meral is a Dutch actress, theatre maker and singer of Turkish Kurdish descent, and her music very much reflects this. The trio is currently on tour, playing all over the Netherlands to promote their new album. Here's a track from it called Daya. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, but I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of the album. But it's the new one from the Meral Polat Trio.
Bashurma